So far, we have discussed about memory, different types of memory, its advantages, disadvantages, everything. So now we will continue with the communication interface. So what is communication interface? So communication interface is essential for communicating with various subsystems of the embedded system and with the external world. So now, whenever we are talking about the communication, we have seen this in the first module as well. The embedded system internally also there are so many components and they have to get connected. And at the same time, the embedded system has to get connected externally. So based on that, we are going to classify into two different perspectives. One is device or board level communication interface, that is on-board communication interface. And the next is product level communication interface, that is external communication interface. So the name itself tells that one is within the board and the other one is external to the embedded system. So many times embedded application will not be a standalone system. There are few applications which is standalone. There are few applications which get connected externally. So based on that, we have these two categories. One is onboard communication interface and the other one is external communication interface. So now let's go let us understand what is onboard communication interface. Embedded product is a combination of different types of chips, devices arranged on a PCB. I hope all of you can imagine that. A communication channel which interconnects the various components within an embedded product is called as onboard communication interface. As usual, whatever I said. Let's go to the next slide. Now, what are the different types, examples that comes under onboard communication interface? So you are seeing there serial interfaces like I2C, SPI, UART, wire, etc. are all the serial interfaces, and parallel bus interface means there are two types. Under serial you have two types, one the serial interface and the parallel bus interface. Under serial interface you have three things, that is I2C, SPI and UART one wire. UART one wire. So sorry, you have around four types. I2C, SPI, UART one wire. All these things are serial interface and parallel is separate. So all these put together is onboard communication interface. So we will be dealing each one of them separately. So in the coming slides. Next, let us go to the other type, that is product level communication interface, that is external interface, which involves data transfer between embedded and other devices. So what are the different types? The best examples are wired media or wireless media. And again, it can be further serial or parallel interface. So what are the examples? I hope all of you are familiar with these terms. IR, infrared, IR, Bluetooth, wireless LAN, that is Wi-Fi. And then RF, radio frequency waves, GPRS, etc. are all wireless examples. And coming to wired interfaces, you know that RS-232 in the last we come across these things, Ethernet, USB, you know that even embedded systems are involved in these components. So now let us go to the next slide. Let us take one by one. So let's go to the next slide. That is onboard communication interface I2C. So it is not called as I2C, it is called as I2C. So it is a synchronous bidirectional half duplex system. What does mean by synchronous? All of you know that synchronous means we are making use of clock for the output to get changed. And they are bidirectional half duplex. What do you mean by bidirectional? You take any wire, bidirectional means you can move left to right or right to left. Both ways that is possible. What do you mean by half duplex? Half duplex means one directional communication at a point of time. Means whenever the data is moving from left to right, the data cannot move from right to left at the same time. At 10 o'clock, I am sending some information from left to right. At the same time, 10 o'clock, I cannot receive the data from right to left. So that is what you can just visualize that particular concept. This you will study half duplex in the computer network subject as well. The same thing we are using here also. It is half duplex. Means at a time only one way you can transmit the data. So now I am sending from left to right. Next time I want to send from right to left. It is possible, but not at the same time. I hope things are clear. So and it has got two serial interface bus. So let us see that one by one. And this concept was first developed by Philips Semiconductors in the early 1980s. The main intention of I2C was to provide a connection between the processor and the television set and the peripheral sets in television set. So nobody knew that earlier also we were making use of embedded systems. Even in television sets, they were making use of this particular I2C. That is, you have a microprocessor and you have different parts of television set to communicate. We were using I2C. So the leading manufacturer is Philips. The popular, it was popular TV manufacturing once upon a time. So now let's go to the next point. Now, what is actually how the I2C architecture is built upon? I2C bus is comprised of two bus lines, namely serial clock and serial data. So what is SCL line? It is responsible for generating clock, and SDA, it is for data. So SCL, C stands for clock, D stands for data. So you can think of that. Now, I2C bus is a shared bus system to which many number of I2C devices can be connected. We will see that. Devices connected to the I2C can either act as a master or slave. It can either become a master or it can become a slave. It's an interface. You have to keep one thing in mind. I2C is a communication interface. It's an interface. So let's go to the next slide. So let us see. The master device is responsible for controlling the communication. So all of you know the master is responsible for initiating and transmitting the data transfer. And definitely they're meant for generating the clock pulses, all of you know. The slave is will wait for the command from the master. And once it reacts only after receiving the command. And master and slave devices can act as either transmitter or a receiver. So definitely you can send the data from master or you can receive the data. In the same way, even the slave also, it can become a transmitter or the receiver. Now, regardless whether a master is acting as transmitter or receiver, the clock is always generated by the master. It is immaterial whether the master is sending or receiving, but the clock is always generated by the master. And definitely I2C supports multi-masters on the same bus. So let's see the diagram, how it looks. We'll go to the next slide. You can see the diagram there. Onboard communication interface. You can see there. Left-hand side, you are seeing master. That is microprocessor or microcontroller. And the right-hand side, you are seeing two slaves. That is slave 1, I2C, it is EEPROM. One component, and the slave 2, I2C. Both the slave 1 and slave 2 are I2C devices, means they are interfacing both. And we doesn't know to which components are connected, but we are just seeing how they are communicating with the master. Okay. As you see in between, you are seeing two lines. I hope all of you can see that SCL and SDL line. So SCL and SDL line, you can see it is connected from master to the bus, I2C bus. You can see SDA and SCL line going from master to the SCL and SDA I2C bus. And the same thing, it is connected to the slave also. SCL and SDA, they are connected to the slave also. I hope you got the entire picture of how the I2C architecture looks like. So this is how the I2C communication interface looks like. It has got two buses, SCL for clock and SDA is for data. And both for these two wires, all of them are connected. Now let's go to the next slide. Let us see how the communication is happening. Let us take the sequence of operation. Now let us take one by one. Master device pulls the clock line. First, it will initiate the clock line and it will make the clock as high. Then, master device pulls the data line low. So, how it starts the communication? First, it will make the clock as high and it will make the data line as low. When SCL line is at high, means it is the start condition of the data transfer. When once the clock is setting to high, then means that it is going to start some communication. Now let us see the next point. After starting the communication, it has initiated the communication. What does the master do first? So now master sends the address. All of you know there are more than one slave devices. So definitely, how do you recognize each one of them? So definitely, it has got the address. So master sends the address of the slave device to which it wants to communicate. You have here two slave devices, slave 1 and slave 2. So to which one it communicates? So first it will send the address. over the SDA line. Now you don't get confused here. SDA is a kind of a data line. It is also meant for transferring the address and some control bits as well as the data. So all the things are transmitted via data line. So please don't get confused with what you have studied with the microprocessor and microcontroller. In this architecture, we are using a common bus, that is data line, that is SDA line. It is a bus actually, kind of bus, a wire. It is mainly used for transferring the address or some controls or finally the actual data. So this thing you have to keep in mind. Now, clock pulses are generated at the SDA line for synchronizing the bit. It's a synchronous system, so it generates a clock. First, the MSB of the data is always transmitted first. So that is transmitted first. The data in the bus is valid during the high period of the clock signal. So till it is high, the data, if it is going to, the slave will take all the data. And once it finishes, after it puts the address, and once it has recognized to which slave it has to send, and once the address is reached the destination, now master will tell whether it wants to read or write. So you can see master sends a read or write bit. So if it is 1, then it is a read operation. If it is 0, it is a write operation. Again, it is sent to the same SDA line. Now let's go to the next slide. Now, master, after it has given the address and now it has told what type of operation it has to perform. Now the master waits for the acknowledgement bit from the slave device. Okay, now it will wait to which it has designated. So whose address is sent onto the bus along with the read write. So the master part is over. Now it is waiting for the acknowledgement. Now the slave device is connected to the bus, compares the address received for the address assigned to them. Now whatever the address the master has put, it has reached all the slaves. Now it will find out whether it is the one which has to start. So once the slave recognizes itself, what it does, the slave device with the address requested by the master, now it responds by an acknowledgement bit. Again, once the slave has identified, okay, I am the one, I have to respond to this communication. Now, the slave device will send an acknowledgement. How the acknowledgement is sent? Again, which value 1, it is going to send it over the SDA line. Same line the slave will use. And now that is reaching the master. Now let's go to the next step. Upon receiving the acknowledgement bit, now the master got an assurance that yes, slave is ready for the task. Now what does the master do? Master sends the 8-bit, now the actual data is going. Master sends the actual 8-bit data to the slave device over, again SDA line is used. If it is a write operation, if the master wants to write to the slave, then it will send 8-bit data to the slave. If it is a read operation, then the slave will send the data to the master. Again, the data is transferred over the SDA line. This one, I hope things are clear to you. Now let's go to the next point. Master waits for the acknowledgement bit from the device upon byte transfer complete for a write operation. If master is initiated a write operation, after the write operation is over, now it again waits for the acknowledgement. Suppose if it is a read operation, then upon receiving the data from the slave, now what the master will do? Master will send the acknowledgement. Either the master, in case of write operation, the master has to get the acknowledgement from the slave, telling that it is over. Or if it is a read operation, the master will tell the slave that yes, the read operation is completed. So when once it is, again the acknowledgement is 2 bits. When once master terminates the master terminates the transfer by pulling the SDA line to high. When once everything is over, SDA line is becoming high, and the clock the clock SCL is at logic high. So when everything is done, it will pull the SDA line to high, which indicates that stop condition.